another A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Dan.
I'm Tom.
We are live on Twitch and YouTube. If you like watching podcasts, not all podcasts are audio only, and as much as we do offer the audio component, we have a video component that you can watch. Just look for @Tom and Dan Live. Like and subscribe.
Yep, you can also get a free app in your app store. You could just search Tom and Dan or a mediocre app. It'll come up. All of our content is on there. And if you subscribe to become a BDM, then you can enter in your name and password.
Yeah.
And you can get the BDM shows on there. Also, we do BDM-only events throughout the year. We're already planning our BDM Appreciation Week next April.
Well, we already have the entertainment. We've already got some pieces there.
Yeah, we're trying to get better at pre-planning. And
when we lost all the employees that work here, we realized that in order to pull this off, we're going to have to actually try. Did that happen to you too?
Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, God.
When Sam and Butler left and then Tony Palmiotti is sailing into the sunset, God bless him. I love that guy. Yeah. But when everybody, everyone wants to forge their own path and everything, and it's just really just me and you. And then one day I woke up and I'm like, oh, my God, I got to do some stuff around here.
Yeah. Well,
I can't just be effing around.
I'm leaning on Tracy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the QB.
Yeah.
That's our Brady. That's our QB right there, baby. I love her. I love her. She's our Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
By the way, Baker, don't loan your dad $12 million. What are you, an idiot? Do you think I would have loaned my dad $12 million? Hell no.
You would have.
No. You know why I would not have done it? No. My dad too dumb for millions of dollars.
Yeah, but dumb. If he would have begged you for it, you would have given it.
I'd have given him it. I love him so much. I'd give him my arms right now. I'd kill myself right now to see him one more minute. For one more minute. I love him so much.
This morning...
you looked... Okay, can I just describe the scene? You walked in, your hair was straight spiky, straight up in the air like you've been, you've been shocked in a... like you had literally thrown a toaster into a bathtub.
So I've got friends staying with me this weekend, and they came into town.
When don't you have friends? It would be weird if you came in and you said, "Had the house of myself."
Well, you know what?
I like that you guys do that.
Well, it
means you have an active social life. Guess who doesn't have an active social life? Me, baby.
So you know how they say, "Oh, he died surrounded by friends and family." Mm-hmm. Well, I want to live that way.
Yeah.
I don't.
Another thing they don't.
I want to die alone.
Well, another thing that they tell you is that they don't tell you is that he died surrounded by friends and family because the friends and family had nowhere else to go. They all lived in one house.
Yeah, but you're on at the end. I've seen it. You're on morphine. You don't know who the hell's around you. I want to live around friends and family. Anyway. So they're in town, and they brought their tiny old pee-pee dog this time.
Okay, I'm pro pee-pee dogs.
Because usually they have their mom, I think Andres' mom, watch the pee-pee dog, but this time she couldn't, so they brought her with them.
Moms notoriously watch people's dogs.
So,
right, that's a thing.
I get a bad rap because I make fun of, I said that I'm anti-dog, but I grew up.
What's more your mannerisms and how you act around. I mean, Dansby came in yesterday and it was like you were not even like.
No, I reached out. I said, "Hey, buddy."
Everybody else was petting him and like feeding off the love that he gave. You were stone cold. You're like a soldier, like you're guarding the unknown tomb.
No,
I can't even crack a smile.
Listen. If there's a dog that I need to take care of, I'll take care of it. And that
the only dogs you've ever taken care of are the ones that would lead to you making love to your wife.
No, when Lena was around, I used to.
She loved you, dude. She loved you so much. That dog loved you.
I'm the one that took Lena to her laser treatments, and I had to sit there with the goggles on.
It's weird for a dog to get laser hair removal on its bikini area, right? How weird is it to take your dog to get laser hair removal on its Brazilian area?
I countless times driving around the neighborhood looking for Lena because she ran off.
People
went
on
into
pain
a
pills,
swamp.
they get confused. They run into the woods.
I have gone into swamps for Lena. I've,
Lena bit and scarred Isley, my Dalmatian. Put a nick in his ear.
She bite everybody.
That was a perfect Dalmatian until Lena put a hole in his ear.
I also grew up with pee-pee dogs. My mom had 3 pee-pee dogs.
That's why I love your mom more than you. I gravitate more to Marilyn Van.
My first dog as a kid was a tiny Yorkie pee-pee dog.
What was its name?
Muffy.
Oh, God bless her.
I had Muffy, Holly, and Bijou. 3 pee-pee dogs, and then I had.
That's a great little menagerie you got there.
I always had dogs. I had outside dogs. I had outside Rottweiler.
You just enough. You've had enough. Is that?
Well, no.
That is the thing. I would have no shame or no judgment to you if you were like, look, I did this when I was a kid. I did this when we had Lena. You know what? I'm in my non-dog years now.
No.
That's fine.
I explained it to my family a million times. I'm like, we travel too much. We're going to be leaving this dog at home, and then eventually Crystal's going to be like, I can't ask my mom to watch the dog again. We can't go on this trip. And then I'm going to be like, now we have substituted a trip for this dog, and I can't have that.
No, I understand.
I only have
you only value trips.
5 more years with my sons that until they're off chasing whatever hole they need. I'm just saying. I know how it works.
Yeah, all holes offer different values.
I'm just saying whatever. That's going to be more important than hanging out with their old man.
You know, Jack Bradshaw has a cat that spray peed his entire couch. Apparently, all the inner workings. And I was listening to Jim Colbert explain how Jack was going to have to drag his couch out into the driveway and clean all the springs, every spring of his couch, because his cat decided to go number 1 on it.
Yeah, listen,
I'm sorry, Jack. I love you, buddy. I'm sorry.
And listen. I don't do whatever you want.
Do what you want.
I'm just saying what I want.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Trips.
The dog is at the house, right? His name's Rocky. He's I'm not exactly sure how old he is, but he's between 15 and 18.
Okay.
Old ass Yorkie
Matt
pee-pee
Gates
dog.
loves that.
And I don't know much about the dog. I see it, and then the women in the house are concerned about him. Me and Andres, we're just drinking beer, watching football.
Do the boys like him?
Yeah, but
how does he fit? Is he fitting into the family dynamic at all?
He's not. He just wanders around like a dead man walking.
Okay.
Bumping into his eyes are white.
He's in his twilight years.
Yeah. So he's not very energetic.
No. Kind of like Caesar was when I left him with you guys.
My boys just pet him a little bit. Yeah, Caesar just did nothing.
Yeah, Caesar does nothing.
He goes, he sits, he lays down. Yeah, that's about it.
Dansby does a lot more than Caesar does.
Yeah,
Dansby was he was just chill.
So anyway, in the past couple mornings, I've been having to go to bed early because I'm the only one that has to work, apparently, and between my wife and friends.
This is pointed at no one, right? This phrase is pointed at no one.
So.
But everybody else in your house is just effing around.
Well, they're partying late and they're getting up. So. This morning, I get up, I'm getting my coffee.
It's you and Rocky.
Everybody's asleep, and then Rocky, the old pee-pee dog.
Yeah, two old men. Rocky gets up, he's going to do his calisthenics.
And this happened the day before. He got up. He heard me get up, making the coffee, and then he'll wander over. And I think he's just asking to go outside, right?
Yeah, or like give me just greeting. He's greeting
because it's the morning. I imagine that his old dog has to go pee outside.
What Dan's gonna crawl on my chest and be like, "Hey, I gotta do it."
So, and the other morning I just left. I was like, "Screw it, dog. I don't know anything about."
Well, it's not your dog, so you can do a. And look, if that were my dog, you are allowed to do a screw it, dog.
So this morning I'm making my coffee. The dog comes up to me and he looks more energetic. I guess these old dogs, some days are better than others. Yeah, like
he was on the crest, not the trough.
Yeah. So and then he had some pep in his step.
Yeah.
And he came over to me with his white eyes and his hair's all like gray.
I want to go to the strip club.
What's weird about Caesar, his hair was white from puppy till death.
Yeah, you
right?
can't tell.
You can't tell.
Yeah, just like Jim Colbert, he defies age. You can't tell.
Well, this Yorkies, their hair goes from like darker to gray.
Yeah,
like it actually gets old, like an old person.
Yeah. It starts looking like a witch.
Yeah. So, and this thing's full gray and like light brown gray.
Yeah, it looks like a mop head.
And but it's actually a little more energetic this morning. So, and then it came up to me and it's making some noises, like whining noises. And then so I'm drinking my coffee. Everybody's
You always
asleep.
do that weird thing. You always you're like, "Hello there, dog. What are you telling me, dog?"
Yeah.
You can't interact with it like normal people interact with dogs.
So I'm doing the math. I'm like, this dog probably wants to go outside and pee, right? So, and then I'm trying to think back. I'm like, I've seen Leanne take this dog for walks, but I'm not doing that this morning.
Yeah.
But I have a backyard.
And you don't want to pee up your house.
Yeah.
That I understand.
But so I'm like, I'm just gonna let it out in my backyard and then drink my coffee. Like, I imagine what other old man with pee dogs.
Well, normally they would pick up the dog and hold it and kiss it.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I would hold the dog,
Yeah.
and then I'd drink my coffee, and I'd let it, and then I would walk with it gingerly as it peed.
Yeah.
And we would enjoy a Christmas morning moment.
So I'm like, all right, this dog wants to go outside and pee. I'm gonna just let it out in my backyard and then drink my coffee, let it do its business, and then bring it back inside and then leave for the day.
Yeah.
And then I'll be the hero of the morning that let your dog out to pee. And
It
then
always comes back to being the hero.
And then I'll text everybody later, like, hey, I let
the
Rocky
hero
out to
left
pee.
for the day.
Everybody else was sleeping, and I got up in the morning.
Enjoy your rock and roll party.
And I let the dog out to pee. So I have my coffee in my hand, and then the dog is following me. And it seems like it knows the way to the back door. I go to the back door, I open the back door. It's by my feet.
Yeah.
And then so I walk outside, and then I'm in my
your
back
bathrobe.
patio.
I want you in a silk bathrobe, wide open.
No, I'm already dressed for work.
Oh, okay.
Like so and then I'm basically. I have a pool enclosure, so I have to go and walk and then open the pool enclosure door to let the dog out to the grass, right?
Yeah.
So the dog is following me like it's done this before, right? So I thought like, oh, and I'm not paying attention. I figured like other people have done this, and the dog now has recognized, because it's been here for 3 days, like the routine of going out to the grass, right?
Well, it's been out there before.
So that's what I think. So I walk and I'm holding my coffee, and then the dog is still by my feet, and we're walking by my pool. And then I go over to my the door to let it out to the grass area, right? And I look. The last time I looked down, it was by my feet. And then I go up, and then my pool enclosure door is sticky, so I'm like trying to open
checks out. Yeah, that checks out.
And then all of a sudden I look over, and the dog is just walking towards the pool, and I'm like, hey buddy, hey, this way, and then just falls into the pool
like it doesn't know what a pool is.
Just walks straight into it, right? And I'm like, oh. And I drop my coffee mug, and it shatters on the pool thing. And then I run over to the pool, and the dog is 3 feet under already. It didn't even attempt to swim.
It just sank to the bottom.
It sank like a rock.
It was ready to die.
And then I'm like, oh, halfway in.
You're a hero.
I was wearing my polo this morning. I dunked half my body in and scooped out. I had my.
Were you screaming? Were you like, help?
No. I almost I didn't want to go. I didn't want to jump in because I had my cell phone and then I had my AirPods in my pocket, and then so I dunked my front half in.
Yeah, you're just like
and scooped the dog out from. I mean, the dog was already 3.5 feet underwater.
Oh, he's almost there. He was half Kevorkian. He was half Kevorkian.
And I pulled him up, and
he didn't want that. He's like a homeless person when you Narcan him. He was mad. He's like, you killed my buzz. I was trying to kill myself.
And for like that split second, I was like, what if the dog just instantly died?
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It just like it breathed
doesn't
in
take
water.
Long if it's old, just a couple toots and it's dead. A little bit of chlorine in those old lungs.
Yeah, like if it fell in the water and then didn't have that natural instinct not to breathe in water.
It was like, oh, this is nice. Big breath. Takes a big breath. Oh, let me take a deep breath.
And then it flashed before my eyes like I'm having to wake up my friends and be like, I killed your dog by accident.
You have to never tell them.
And then they yell.
No, you have to go to work and they're like, where's the dog? And you just have to leave it you have to erase the tapes.
And they yell, didn't you hear when we were announcing no one let Rocky out, he'll fall in the because I don't pay attention to anything.
No, you don't.
So I didn't hear the instructions.
He was with you and he dum walked into the pool.
Yeah, but
that's a little different than like the door was left open and he wandered around. He was being curious.
So I picked the dog up and immediately
it's dead, right?
the dog is shaking like it's
Quick, put it in the oven.
yeah. Because I imagine like the dog is cold to begin with. Old people get cold.
Well, I was also startled because it was suspended in a liquid breathing for a solid 30 seconds.
and the pool's cold. It's like he's probably 59 or whatever. So
by the way, all of the best radio hosts kill Yorkies in their pool.
So
there's a Wayback Machine joke for you.
I pull the dog up, and then the dog's shaking crazy. So I run over, I get a towel, and the dog's still like,
Well, it doesn't instantly be okay. Just it's like, oh, thank you, you saved me.
Yeah. So I run over, I wake up Crystal, and then Crystal's like, what happened? And I'm like, Rocky fell in the pool. She's like, you let Rocky out of the back patio?
She yelled, she sold you out.
Yeah. And then she's like, exactly what I thought. She's like, didn't you hear when we said no one let Rocky out because it'll just walk in the pool? And I'm like, no, I didn't hear it. I was trying to be a hero in the morning.
Yeah, well, why is he here?
And so then Crystal gets a heating pad out. The dog's shaking crazy. We're like, everybody's still asleep, by the way.
I wouldn't do that. I mean, go to your bed, you warm up, just like a cowboy. Just do a couple circles.
Well, I think
if you sit there with your nose in the ball, if they make the ball, they heat up.
Yeah. Well,
in the woods, they're not going to have a heating pad, is my point.
Well, in the woods, this thing would have been dead 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true.
You know, it's being just kept alive. Like, people keep pee-pee dogs alive for
longer
a
than they
long
should.
time.
Yeah. I didn't do that with Maggie. As soon as like that first big seizure, I was like, you know what? We're not going down this route. We're not gonna throw the drugs at it. And then 10 years later, she's like, "What's the only thing keeping her from seizing 24 hours a day? The pills."
I mean, Maggie was only. I mean, there's the world's record. She was close to the record.
Yeah, she's 17, dude.
Yeah,
no, 18. She's 18.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I mean, that's longer than it would live in the wild till 10 or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Baby.
Anyway, so that was my morning.
You had to deal with it. Wow.
And
just reiterating another reason why you guys do not want a dog. This is so stressful to you. Oh my God, I don't even want you to get a dog now. This would be terrible.
No, the family wants one, but they don't know what they want. I know exactly what would happen, and they'd be especially my sons. They'd be disinterested 5 months into it.
Yeah.
And then, this thing's going to live another 17 years because I know my wife, and by the time it ends up getting some sort of rare cancer, I'll be, $1,700 a month treating it for the next 8 months. And then all of a sudden it'll show some, anyway, it'll be a ridiculous amount of time.
I did that with one of my dogs. I did, with two of them. I spent a way more than I probably ever would again. But, you're in a different phase of your life at the time. So maybe you treat it differently. Like I have a different. I
do it now because of course.
I would do it now, but I'm a little more. I'm a little less of like I don't know. I've lived longer and I've seen a couple dogs pass.
Yeah.
And now I don't think I kind of feel like maybe with a few of them it was unfair that I was continuing to prop it up. It was almost selfish.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at a certain point, but it's like when you go to the vet and the vet's like, all right, your dog has this. You could either treat it.
Yeah.
And extend its life, or it'll just die.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, what are you? Well, of course I'm gonna
I asked my vet for the wink. I asked my vet for the wink. I'm like, give me the wink.
And then the vet, because it's business, I'm sure is gonna present the most expensive option.
Not my lady. But I have also gone to her for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
So she's like a friend of the family. But no, she told me straight up. She's like, yeah, this is the best thing to do. I wouldn't continue treatment.
Yeah. I'm sure some vets will tell you straight, but I understand the business behind it.
Because a lot of it's suffering too. Because I think I don't know. It's weird for vets. Sometimes I think you get more that would talk you out of it than you would. Well, it's going to be different depending on where you go. But if it's like a small little mom and pop, most of the time they're just nothing but compassion.
So back to the Baker Mayfield story.
Oh God.
You said he was suing his dad and brother.
Well, his dad owns a company and his brother has a stake within said company. And I'm going to pull it up here so I can read a little bit more of it. Yeah, it says Baker Mayfield has initiated legal action involving his family's business ventures. In August of 2023, Mayfield and his wife, Emily, filed a petition in Travis County District Court, Texas, seeking detailed financial records for several companies, including Camwood Capital Management Group and Camwood Ventures, firms founded by his father, James Mayfield. And his brother is, connected to that. So at first, it was like they just wanted to know, hey, what the hell's going on here? We're sequestering the records so we can see what's going on. Now it's like it appears that it is a full-blown $12 million lawsuit against Camwood Capital Management Group alleging breach of settlement agreement. This legal dispute has added complexity to Mayfield's professional life, coinciding with his efforts to secure a starting position on the books.
So it's got to be hard for professional athletes at that caliber when you've made that much money, right? Because
Some weird way you feel obligated to your dad, I feel like.
or anybody around you, because you have an amount of money that honestly that it's generational, right, with your own family, especially if in Mayfield, he's trying to secure a longer term contract, but he's made, I don't know what his net worth is,
He
but
was a number 1 draft pick. He did well.
he made, let's say 80 million or whatever, 100 million at this point. But so when you have that much money and then you have people in your life asking you, that you have relationships with, asking you to loan you money, and maybe even, it's not like,
About 25 mil.
and it's not even like a person that's asking just to help him out and get him a house or whatever. It's maybe your dad that you respect, your brother, like his business, and he's like, hey, here's you need. It's
Well,
almost it's an investment.
Yeah, you think you're going to be reaping some benefit from that, not that they're just going to inject $12 million and nothing, and you'll never see a dime of it.
And you're helping your dad, and you don't have any time to investigate it or spend any brain
Or to
power
have any hands on it.
Yeah. You are literally every moment trying to keep your job as a starting quarterback because there's only 32 of them in the entire world, and it's one of the hardest positions as an athlete to play.
Well,
so you can't, it's not like you can be diving into what exactly your dad is. You're just like, here you go.
He was trying to pick up the pieces after Brady left. He was doing all the meetings that Brady was doing and trying to continue the legacy a little bit, and it shows, right? Tampa, I think he's doing well in Tampa.
And then you hear these lawsuits, and then sometimes you're like, oh, you're suing your own dad, but it's bigger than that because at this point, if you have $100 million, you have other businesses, you have a business manager, you have a full-time lawyer that you're, you know what I'm saying? There are multiple people.
Seems like his wife does a lot of the business stuff. She has to, like multiple companies that he has, an organization,
and then so now
foundation.
A lot of your money is wrapped up in corporations and your own corporation and stuff. And then when you loan someone $12 million, it's with that kind of amount of money, we're not talking about you're just Western Union, you're just like
right.
There are contracts and lawyers involved, and your business manager, and this may be a part of your company that you have a manager of.
Well, it even
what I'm saying.
that.
So
like
of course they have to sue because they're like, this money's gone. This is part of the investment.
Well, he is part of it. Like they even when you even look at his bio, it says beyond his football earnings, Mayfield has ventured into business investments. He co-owns Camwood Ventures, a venture investment company, with his brother Matt Mayfield. So it's even listed in his bio as part of it. The drama, because of course everybody loves the drama, and I hate that. Yeah, because I love my parents so much, and they were, I can't even think of a scenario where I would be filing some sort of lawsuit against them. But who even knows?
Yeah.
What's happening there? They could be completely fine. It could be just a business thing. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. It's kind of like when someone sues their own family's homeowner's insurance. It's like, yes, even the family agreed, yes, sue my homeowner's insurance so that they could pay whatever medical bill. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's you're not suing that person, you're suing the insurance company.
Andrea's in the chat room also alluding that after that, so what the statement I just read to you actually is false. His dad and brother never gave him that stake in the company after the loan. So that's sort of why the complaint or the
lawsuit is
why it's continuing on.
Okay.
It's like, well, what the hell's happening here? Like, I did do that. I was going into business with you guys, but it appears that you just kind of took the money and did whatever you wanted to, and there's no mention of me here at all.
It's why a lot of people, if they come into money or they win the lottery or whatever, like they keep it quiet because it changes the relationships around everybody.
All of my family. I would do the thing that you see in a lot of like cartoons and you see it in a lot of Christmas movies where I would have the money and I would almost like it's me on a hill and I'm looking down at the rest of my family and I'm like, okay, what can you offer me for some of my sweet, sweet money?
Oh, okay. That's called the king. When the peasants line
king
up.
with the Xbox. You've seen it in the Christmas movie where the kid gets the Xbox. I forget what movie it is, but he's like, I got the Xbox. If anyone down there wants to play it, What are you gonna do for me?
You
You have to kiss my boots.
Yeah.
You have to smooch my butt.
The peasants line up and beg for something, and then it's up to you whether
I would do that to my family.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't really have any of my, my immediate family, but I have like a lot of this
extended family
that I don't really know. So it would be fairly easy for me to punch down.
Yeah. It's the easiest punching.
Yeah. Down punching? Yeah.
You can also kick.
Someone say it's the most fun. Yeah, it is. It's stomp. You can stomp even.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got Jenna Hurt in studio, and she's going to tell us about her adventures because we haven't talked to her in a while.
I feel like it's been like, did we talk to her during COVID?
Yes, but it's been a while. It's been over a year.
Yeah, she's collected a bunch of different awards. If you don't know who she is our jewelry making and skateboarding world traveling listener from, I don't know, we've known her for probably 30 years.
Yeah. And, since we started the show.
Yeah, she's awesome. So we'll be back with more of that momentarily.
Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan.
So we have a subscription service called BDM.
Yeah, man.
And if you by now a lot of people know what it stands for.
I actually get tired of explaining what it best damned members.
And that or a lot of other things.
Yeah, it could be a lot of other things.
But you can go to tomanddan.com and subscribe. And once you're a member, we do 2 private BDM parties a year. We also do a BDM Appreciation Week where we offer a $5 BDM T-shirt and some gifts sent in every T-shirt order from our sponsors. And we do an event around that time. Then another private.
It's
BDM
really fun.
Event.
It's a cool community. We're gonna do some other stuff with our Twitch guys. I was just talking to them. They want to do like a impromptu pizza party and maybe one of our watering holes. I mean, we're always trying to do extra stuff. And the BDM community is really the group, the Facebook group, all of that. It's awesome.
Yeah, and there's a lot of subgroups that are BDM groups.
Outdoors, record collectors, parenting, all kinds of pets.
There's BDM NARP group. There's BDM growers and showers. Plant
singles,
group,
looking for a job.
Subaru group.
Maybe you got an old fish tank that you don't want anymore and you want somebody to come pick it up. They got that.
And there's a sliding scale of
And if you really
price.
want to cheat on your significant other with one of our members and ruin your family, that's the number one thing that we I feel like that's the number one thing we've created in creating this community is that you guys get in there and you're wild animals and you break your families apart.
We've been doing this for a little over 10 years now, and we've seen people meet at BDM meetups, get married, have kids, and their kids are already in school right now.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
100%.
Let's do some weird jobs.
All right, I have a very special Christmas weird jobs. Well, I'm trying to create these AI songs, and this one I tried to like go in a Christmas kind of a festive theme.
Okay,
and not bad. Little Clarence Clemens, like Bruce Springsteen's saxophone player, you know.
Tom wanted to do a bit. He called it Weird Job Wednesday.
I like that little sax on there.
Dan really liked it. Tom said that's bullshit. Another Weird Job Wednesday.
I don't want to edit it later.
What are you doing? What is your job? Are you neat? Are you tidy? Or are you a fat slob? Do you make lots of money and you sit up in your tower looking down on all the people that are working by the hour? Weird Job Wednesday. Just another Weird Job Wednesday. Oh yes, it's Weird Job Wednesday. Just another Weird Job Wednesday. Thank you, Tom.
No, I like that.
I like the heartfelt thank you, Tom, at the end. Because he's just like, you know what, he doesn't really sing it at the end. He's more like, he's really like heartfelt and speaking to you. And he's like, hey, thank you, Tom. Like very casual.
The Wednesday before Thanksgiving, the biggest party day or bar day of the year.
Yeah, this is where you go out and you go and you reevaluate all of the girlfriends you used to have at the, like you go to the bar in your small town you used to live in, and then they all come, and then you size them up, and you're like, got fat, boob job is gross.
I thought it was just because you wanted to get drunk before you had to spend time with your family.
Well, you do that, but the whole time you're there, you're sizing up everybody. You're like, is my job the best? Do I have the best partner? Are my kids the smartest?
So Matt is in studio with us. How you doing, Matt?
I'm good. How are you?
Thanks for being here, man.
So Matt is actually a client of Barton Crystal's.
Oh, awesome.
And Crystal told me that she was like, Matt, one of my clients, has a really unique, interesting job.
He does.
You should interview him for Weird Job, and that's what we did. So, Matt, what is your job?
I'm a touring special effects technician.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, that could mean a lot of things, though, like, honestly, because you look at, like, what... And how concerts, are kind of like taking shape, and that could mean many, 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 many things.
You know what? No offense, Matt, but when you have a complicated job title, you need to simplify it for everybody. Because if someone asks me what my job is, I'm like podcaster. They're like, got it.
Yeah.
Even though they don't.
But everybody does that.
Yeah.
It's not a very unique job. But this guy,
a radio show host, and they're like, okay, got it. And then when you said yours, I think no one
technician
understood anything. So can you just say lighting?
No, I bet it's more than that. Okay, let's let him explain.
Sorry.
Well, it's special effects is its own department on touring.
Okay.
So we handle lasers, pyro, confetti, cryogenic fog, anything like that kind of stuff. Any of the more dangerous side of things.
Okay, so you do special
cryogenic fog.
Yeah.
Cold fog,
CO2,
low-laying
low
fog.
fog. We do low fog. We do the fog that bursts up in the air.
I got into. Oh man, I love this guy. I got into this around Halloween. I started learning the difference in like my fog juices, and then how I have to chill it. And then I made. Well, I was gonna make, but I ended up buying it off of this dude. I bought my own chiller. I loaded it up with ice, and then I would like learn how to shoot the fog at a certain angle so it would hold the longest in there. And then when it would come out, it would lay really low to make my pumpkins look good. Yeah, this is awesome.
There's a lot to know about it, believe it or not.
Yeah, well, it's all science.
Yeah,
I mean, it's all like, it truly is all science.
So you work for a special effects company that specializes in effects for touring artists, and then the artist hires your company, and then you go on tour with them?
More or less, yeah. They'll contact a company. The company contacts me as my own company, really, more or less. And then we'll go out and do a year and a half sometimes, and
wow.
So you're kind of like an independent contractor.
I'm fully independent, yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Okay, so you're gone for sometimes a year and a half on tour with this artist. So now, I know you can't talk about the current artist you're on tour with, but what are some past artists you've been on tour with?
Yeah. In the past, we've done Backstreet Boys, Maroon 5. I was with SZA last year.
Nice.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Real
That's
treat.
SZA, correct?
SZA,
Yeah.
yes.
Did you know that? Yeah.
So okay.
I love SZA.
Lots of explaining to family who SZA is.
Yeah. But it is the coolest way to like when I started like my daughter, we like SZA, and I was like, that's the coolest spelling.
Okay, well, of course,
I start spelling Dan like that.
I know who SZA is, and so you don't have to explain it to me, but let's just say you're explaining it to someone who doesn't know who SZA is in our audience, and so let's go ahead.
Very popular hip-hop artist.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
So
Sold well, had a great time.
Yeah.
So, and when that artist do they like tell your company or you what they want on stage, and then you have to do that, or do you give them an option, a list of like, we have these
like go
lighting
into
effects.
a Lady of the Night, and she's like, here's the menu.
How does that work? How do they design their the effects for their entire stage show?
Tours have designers that are just strictly hired for that. There's entire companies that just are creative side of that thing.
Okay.
By the time it gets down to me, it's a list, and then we take that list, bring it into wherever we're rehearsing at, and then make it work with what's on stage, basically.
How much freedom do you get as if you're not the designer, but you're executing the designs, how much freedom do you get to make it happen? Can you go like off script and maybe invent something or use something
It would be more suggestions than ideas.
Okay. Yeah.
So
we try and nudge them in the right direction when they're doing things that are silly, but at times it's hard to get them.
Oh, I'm sure, because it's a big. I mean, that's the thing you have to think about when you're talking tour. I mean, this is
it's a big thing. It's a big deal for the artist. They want to have their hands in it. They want to be involved. They want to have opinions as well. It's a big kind of clash in a way.
So are you there? I'm guessing there's some rehearsal for the tour, and they get their stage show down.
well, not for our tour.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we would just go. We're just like, let's wing it.
Seat of our pants.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm sure, like, you do a big world tour, and they are sometimes world tours, right? Yeah. So they get it down to what they want it to be. So you're involved in that process, right?
Very little.
Oh, really?
I pretty much fly in, have a big set of gear, and then we make it adapt to the stage there at that point. Everything else is handled before I get there.
And so, like, so is it just about firing the lights and, like you said, the fog machine and any other effects, like the pyro at certain times, and you're just following the script as live as it goes?
And developing that as time. We'll spend weeks in rehearsals, so it'll be time developing where things go, how to do it safely, how to execute it safely with dancers moving around and things flying in and out, all those things that happen you see at a big concert.
Okay, so the rehearsal part, you said weeks at rehearsal before you start the tour, and
that's awesome.
Is the artist there the whole time, or do they send in someone to like
a stand-in?
More often than not, we'll dial it in pretty well, and then they'll come in for a week or two and really actually do the choreography and get used to the movement and the all the safety aspects and everything.
Okay, so let's talk about the safety, because I remember in the 80s when Michael Jackson set his hair on fire and during a Pepsi commercial.
I still remember where I was. I was pooping with the door open in the first home I ever lived in, and my dad yelled from the TV that Michael Jackson. I remember this. Michael Jackson, and my daddy yelled at Michael Jackson and burned his, and I started crying.
And I don't know why that sticks out as like the staple.
It's one of the greatest tragedies to ever happen if you loved Michael Jackson.
And then I know and I remember this happened to Metallica one time. Like,
James Hetfield.
Yeah, like
pyro.
The pyro blew off in his head.
That's why I say, give me fuel, give me fire.
And so it can be super dangerous. So let's talk about that and what sort of precautions are taken so that someone doesn't hurt themselves, or like things that you can't do because you're like, if this person is in the wrong place, it could kill the artist, which I'm sure no one wants.
So a lot of that comes down to spotters and safety. And so we oftentimes are carrying a person or two. Their main job is to help build things during the morning, and then they spot during the show. They're just watching.
So if the artist goes, and are they in like all black and like crouched down behind a speaker?
in the bomb lane.
Yeah.
Or so, I don't know.
Are they trained to like literally like a
we gotta get scissor out, get scissor out.
to go and like pull them out of danger? Or
It's a big hook with a candy cane stripe on it.
That would be fantastic. No, it's just me with a pair of headphones on.
Oh, no. Just yelling at him.
I'm communicating with the shooter.
Okay.
And saying, okay, you're cleared to fire or you're not cleared to fire.
Oh,
and then oftentimes I'll actually have my own e-stop that I can actually stop the system with as well if I need to,
Wow,
depending upon what we're firing.
That's actually a good thing to have. Yeah. Wow.
So who has like a super elaborate stage show? I guess the price of the stage show depends on how elaborate it is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so like the more pyro, the more expensive, and like what would an artist, like say Roundabout, charge just for the effects of a one night? Like how much would that even cost a Roundabout?
Great question.
All right.
I have no idea.
Oh, really? Well, you can guess. I mean, if someone asks me, you're like, well, how much does Travis and Jason Kelsey get paid per commercial? I don't know. But then I can guess, probably per live read.
I have a number.
Maybe like $7 to $10,000.
I went 12.
Okay, yeah. I mean, now
12K a read sounds good to me.
We could be off by 5,000 to 8,000, but you
I
get
think
an
we're close.
idea.
I think we're close.
So what do we got here?
I think you're spending 15 to 20 on the low end, 1,000, and then upwards from there.
Okay.
Because you also have to remember that we're talking to even get a baseline crew. You're 4 or 5 guys. You have bus space. You have hotel space. You have flights. You have all those things that move our bodies around.
Yeah.
One of the greatest expenses in touring is moving me around.
Yeah, let's talk about that part of it. You do this. I mean, you have to be on your game. It does have an element of danger. There are people moving. You obviously have spotters. Like, do you guys have to is it really? You work, you come in, you sleep, and get right back to work. Is it sort of a grind? How hard is it being on the road?
Right, let's talk about the touring schedule. Once you guys set off to tour, what's the normal day like? Is it buses?
U.S. and Europe will be buses mostly.
Okay.
Then we get into what we just finished in Asia and Australia leg, and that's all flights.
And you're essentially like the band, all in with your crew in one bus together. I mean, sleeping on the bus and all that. Yeah. And then so you get to the arena. And then you have to set up, and each arena, I'm sure, has like has a down pat,
flaws,
and flaws,
lots of them,
and because just like venues, like
Do you have favorites and least favorites?
Oh, you will, yeah. And you walk into places, kind of hungover and a little tired at 7 a.m. and go, oh, I remember. Oh,
yeah. And you forget that it's really
going to be
bad.
a long day. This one's.
Yeah, like I thought it's funny, like when people are talking about venues, I think that, well, you and I think about it because you've planned a lot of events for our show. But I don't think many people think of like how difficult it is just to, like you have this big building that has a lot of pathways that can't be moved, and you have to figure out how to get an insane amount of equipment built correctly. These Legos built.
25, 30 trucks sometimes going into a room for the day and then leaving that night.
Okay, SZA stage, you get there, you start. How long until stage is built, roundabout?
Well, you have riggers starting at about 5 a.m. probably.
Jesus.
Stage, start going in around 7, 8, 9 a.m. depending on the tour. They'll be ready to roll by noon, 1.
Wow, that's
Roll that into
impressive.
place.
That's super impressive.
And then you're putting in the pyro and the lighting effects. And then I'm sure with the pyro, then the local fire marshal has to be there. And there's all these protocols.
Checks and balances.
Yeah. I know how the fire marshals
I bet you love
work.
that, right? Like can that make or break it? Can that slow things down? Like, how important is having like all your documentation just ready to rock?
Yeah, it's critical. The professional companies will be ready to go with all that. The more fly-by-night companies roll in and they don't have the paperwork, and then the marshal starts giving the whole tour a hard time. They can get on you about all sorts of stuff if they really want to.
Yeah. So it's like best to just be on.
Oh yeah, have your paperwork ready to go.
Yeah,
print it out, ready to rock and roll when they walk in.
This is the boring part that and everyone just wants to see SZA on stage like freaking killing it. That you don't think about like didn't have our permit, so there's no
meeting with a new fire marshal every afternoon.
Yeah,
it's a great time.
Yeah.
By the way, when I grew up, I thought a fire marshal would be, they would see a lot more fires and explosions.
They're just hassling people.
Based on the 1980s fire marshal Bill that I grew up with the character, I thought it was going to be, let me tell you something, he's going to be crazy and have some sort of burns on half his face, and it's usually just an old grumpy old man that was a fire chief.
He doesn't even want to be there.
That's getting paid, his fee of $800
to drink
his
coffee and hassle you.
Yeah. And then he never really has to deal with any explosions or any danger at all. He just yells at the people.
I don't even think he yells. He just like shut it down.
Or just stands there. And he's like, they pay me to be here. So the pyro that you have, do you have to pack all that? Do you have like a special pyro guy that only handles all the explosives and and then I'm sure that has to be stored in some sort of special case while you're traveling?
Well, I'll say one funny thing real quick about the fire marshals is when you travel with the big pop artists, oftentimes the day you come to town becomes training day for all 20 people in the department.
Okay.
And you have 20 people standing on stage to watch the pyro demo, and it's like, hey, what are all these people? We're all training. Are you?
Because they want to see the famous person.
Who will you stand there and test the pyro with SZA? I get it. I would probably be one of those people with my daughter.
So touring-wise, pyro, we ship ahead. We'll ship 5, 6, 7, 8 shows ahead. And then we have a large metal bunker with a giant lock on it that's fireproof and just travels with us everywhere it goes.
Gotcha.
We also have another, like a person in your style of career, a lifer in our Twitch chat room, Jackal, our good friend Jackal. He does a lot of this. And you're basically cracking him up with how everything you're nailing about it. He's like, oh, yeah, this guy knows. Yeah, the people on the stage, the extra people during the pyro test, sure, this is all what happens.
So let's talk about once you get outside of the United States, because I know that
international waters.
Matt was recently, and we'll talk about this actually as a commercial, but he actually purchased his house in South Korea.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, like when he was on tour. And so I imagine you get outside of the country, and now you've got a whole other list of things you got to deal with and how different countries do it and what their safety standards are.
Or even the songs you can perform, right? Like there's certain.
That's all.
Yeah, there's some songs that just the content ain't gonna fly.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Even visual content, certain words we have to brief artists, not me, not myself, but artists have to be briefed before going to certain countries. Hey, like that will get you arrested and thrown in jail for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the bigger ones, I think there was a pop star that kissed a man on stage, and I believe he was in a country where that's considered like what? Well, your lip just quivered when I said that. You were like, "Are you horny? What happened there?"
I'll scream. Let me guess. Is it a sandy country?
Could be.
Hey,
But,
I like that.
I
love every country I've traveled to.
Yeah, me too.
They're
Me
all
too.
great.
And all people. I love everyone.
Yeah. But I'm sure some countries have laxer safety protocol where they're like, you don't need the metal box.
Yeah.
You could use a plastic bag.
Well, the country of Florida is
They
pretty
don't
lax.
care. Yeah. They don't care about safety. And then some countries care about safety too much where you're like, this doesn't make any sense. You care about safety? There are tanks in your street. Like, this is BS.
Rules are rules.
Yeah, you're just saying safety and charging us an extra $500. It's
This is a
extortion.
shakedown,
Yeah. So there's lots of that and politics and stuff in different countries. You paying people off.
Yeah, safety things and watch your bank accounts and things. I had to send a transfer over from Manila to pay for contracting on selling a house and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And my PayPal was hacked 10 minutes later.
Oh,
Immediately
really?
from our secure private arena Wi-Fi, somebody was in there and immediately was hacking my PayPal. I got an email like your PayPal is shut down.
Everything that any transaction that's on Wi-Fi in the country, like, oh my, I'm sure the people are surprised, like, oh my God, this guy's using our Wi-Fi.
It's the equivalent of
And he's
you
sending
going
money?
to the Indian call center, opening the doors, and throwing money.
It wasn't even like a hey, change your password email.
Yeah.
It was like your account is shut down until you
Yeah.
send us a picture of your ID and all this stuff.
Yeah. So, also, there's a certain, and I feel like, and I see this just because me and Daniel have done so many different events, is that when the event's over and everybody's filing out of the arena or whatever, I always think about the crew. Because the artists, they're like, they're great show, thank you, and they're going out and maybe having a post-show celebration or
Immediately
whatever.
taking a shower.
And then all the crew this whole time was just
they're
waiting.
sweeping up Limp Bizkit's confetti.
Just waiting to take everything down the rest of the night.
And it's a lot.
And then pack it back into all the semis for the travel
I'll
to the
give
next
you one. I'll get one I've been thinking about because I'm going to see this artist in a couple of weeks. Casey Musgraves is going to be at the Amway. Her whole entire stage looks like it's living. It's like fungus. It's like all greenery. And it's huge. And every time I see the stage, and it's beautiful, don't get me wrong, I think of you guys and I go, holy Christ, there's a whole bunch of guys back there that are gently packing moss into an 18-wheeler so the next night they can recreate this mossy scape.
They're not doing it too gently, I can say that much.
Yeah.
But it's getting on a truck and it's going somewhere fast.
So at the end of the
That's awesome.
show, what is it like? You're just waiting, obviously. What do you guys do during the show? You're probably tired of watching the same show.
Safety spotting mostly, just
Okay.
watching out and then waiting for this last tour we had low fog and that ended after the 5th or 6th songs. We packed that up middle of the show.
Okay, so you're
that's
already
smart.
preparing like during the show what you can take
anything
out.
you can do to make the night go 30 seconds fast. It's a game of 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And every 30 seconds you cut off is more sleep you get that night.
Am I correct in thinking that the beginning of the tour, hard, but by maybe middle to 3/4 of the way in, you guys have figured out all these best practices, and now you're getting your rhythm.
If you're with a good crew, you can start flying. We did Justin Bieber a few years ago. We were 23, 24 trucks, and we were down to 2 hours. From the end of show to the last truck door close, we did in just under 2 hours.
So Matt,
God bless, man. That's impressive, dude.
just from sitting here for 22 minutes speaking with you, this is the first time we ever met, and I could tell like there's probably a certain type of person that has to do this particular job, that has to
I don't have the temperament.
even keeled
No.
and also like just wanting to get the job done, no drama, because you're traveling with this whole crew for, like you said, a year. And what would make it miserable is some
Like me.
crazy
Someone like
person.
me. Yeah.
No, not like you.
Yeah.
But it's just saying some person that
Oh,
would
I'd have
cause
grudges. I'd hold grudges against the entire crew. I'd only be talking to one of them
You're
at the end of the
sleeping
tour.
in close quarters with everybody, and then doing super hard work night after night, and then the travel's hard alone. So I imagine there's a lot of people like you that and not you couldn't have a person that is drama or causing problems on something like this, because that would make it horrible, right?
Just like everything else, if someone wants to make themselves a target, they'll find a way to be removed from the tour pretty quickly.
You
Generally.
ever had anybody removed from the tour?
Oh yeah, all the time.
So that's a thing.
Yeah.
You get somebody in there and they freak out.
You get a little too drunk. You make a mess on the bus. You find a flight home real quick.
Yeah.
Oof.
And then is that whose job is that? The tour manager or
Yeah, you have a tour manager. They won't deal as much as the production manager will. So there's a tour manager, and then right below that there's a production manager who's in charge of all of us. And so they'll be really more involved in the crewing and the staffing and all that.
Well, let's talk about how many people, like you mentioned how many trucks, but like tour manager, production manager, I mean, there's, depending on how many artists are on the tour, like how many band members, backup singers, there's a small army of people traveling from place to place.
Aerialists.
So how many people, like humanity, are we talking about on tour?
This last one, 110 to 130 on the U.S. side of things. And then when we fly overseas, because everything costs so much, you cut down to like 50 or 60, roughly.
Okay. So 130 people.
Yeah, roughly.
That is, I think,
a lot.
way more than most
I don't
people
think
even believe.
I don't think people think about that.
Yeah.
What is that considered a regular size, a large, a medium? What is that?
Yeah, regular. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would large be and what would small? Like we
a
don't need
Taylor
small.
Swift.
What would large be?
Oh, Taylor Swift. I'm speaking out of my lane here, but I believe she was well over 100 trucks when you count steel and everything. Steel's all the towers that go up and everything that comes in on the early end.
100 trucks.
Yeah, I believe they're a little over 100.
So
We don't even have 100 BDMs left.
So and then crew wise with 100 trucks, I mean, is it double 130? Or I mean, are we?
Probably, yeah.
So we're talking possibly 250 people traveling.
It's feasible, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
I think it's
I
way
can't
more
even-
than people would imagine.
Well, I think
250 people.
It almost makes me feel like in order to justify ticket prices, that artists have done themselves a disservice, and you should show this to justify to me when I'm buying the ticket for that pop artist that has installed a city in my city that I can go and see them sing.
You're
Like,
just singing on stage with one microphone.
I mean, I would. It matters to dads, right? Like, show the dads. If you want dads to fork it out for the tickets, show me show me the 100 trucks. I'm into that stuff, man.
It is insane when you start looking at the difference in artists between the last artist you work with, 130 people, huge stage show, pyro lights, like fog, all the sometimes they have. I mean, I remember when we saw Lil Wayne. He had that
was one of the
TVs.
strangest stage. Well, the stage. It was like a box, and then there were squares, like Hollywood squares. Like think like 9 boxes, right? So there's 3, 3, and 3, and then there were elevators in each box, and it was all lit up, and it would move him around. Like he would shoot up at the top, or he'd take the elevator all the way down to the bottom. Nicki Minaj was there too.
Yeah,
I know.
know.
It was nuts.
And then Crystal talked about the AJR tour, and there's like
crazy.
50.
Their video wall is. She made me look it up. It's crazy.
Yeah, a 50-foot puppet, a video wall, like this huge elaborate stage show, and of course Taylor Swift and all of those. She's there's like it's insane.
Yeah.
And then you think about like Dave Chappelle, one microphone, and there's some lights and volume.
Yeah,
but I mean, my God, like
Sure.
the difference in just the amount of stuff you have to do comparatively, and then like I'm sure there's other artists. There's like a band where it's like like NoFX has always made the joke where they have the tiny little
the tiny
NoFX
band,
flag.
yeah.
And then, but even like I don't know, like Metallica and some of the other bigger acts have like more elaborate stuff, but nothing close to some of these pop artists that did do.
What's the craziest piece of equipment you've ever had to engineer for one of your tours? Anything weird?
Yeah, we've got some new fog machines. It's a commercial product, to be honest. You can find it online, but They take enough juice. You run 3-phase power just straight into the fog machine.
What?
So the Weeknd's touring with them right now, for example. So he loves that big rolling fog effect.
That's his thing.
Yeah, they're these massive. You have to run 3-phase feeder out to each fog machine in the stadiums.
That's crazy.
That's insane, dude.
How much interaction do you have with the artists when you do these tours?
No.
None.
It's one of the fastest ways to find a plane ticket home, to be honest, in my opinion. You always be pleasant, always say hello, wave, smile, be polite, but you don't want to fly too close to the sun or you'll find a plane ticket home real quick.
Yeah.
And have you seen that happen where there's some like a fanboy on tour with you? And
Hi,
they're
Travis Pastrana.
Over and over and over again.
Let me show you.
Is it one of the number ones?
That's one of the fastest ways to get fired is to start flying too close to the sun, to be with the dancers, to be with the artists. At the end of the day, if you look at the importance of what you do, we are very important in what we do backstage. But at the end of the day, I'm much faster to be replaced than anyone on that stage.
Oh yeah,
Now,
I get that.
Well, let's just say Tom Van's on tour with you, right? And I'm
Wait, are you a greenhorn?
Yeah. I'm a good lifter, so I'm just muling
Bad
stuff back
spotter.
and forth.
Don't have this guy, no safety spotting with this guy around. My
yeah,
God,
yeah.
everybody'd be dead on tour.
And then let's say, like I got my shirt off. This is an alternate reality.
Okay.
Or
Why do
the
you have your
future.
shirt off?
This
Why
is
do
the
you have your
future. I
shirt
got
off?
divorced. I'm on the T hard now.
Yeah.
I'm getting double dose.
Yeah, you got that extended belly like Big Papa Pump.
Yeah. So I'm on tour with you, and then let's say, one of the backup dancers, she's drinking her coffee. She's in a different, because they separate the blue collar.
What tour is this? This is Jelly Rolls, right? Beautifully Broken tour.
No. I'm thinking more like a Pink. She
was just in town.
And in Pink,
and you're one of the aerialists.
Yeah, there's a bunch of the ex Cirque du Soleil girls or whatever. So then there's one drinking the coffee, eating some
the
honey
one
bun.
drunk, methed out Cirque du Soleil girl.
yeah. And she's just checking me out because
like,
I got my
used to
shirt
be
off.
one of the highest flyers.
And then I'm like, hey, after once we get all packed up, you want to go get a drink?
You want to go make love behind the Burger King?
Yeah. Or we don't even go get a drink. I'm just pounding her behind some dumpster at the Amway Arena, right?
Yeah.
And then Matt, you see me.
You're
like, what?
there. Matt's going to roll in one of the sophisticated fog machines, and he hears this. He hears this rhythmic slapping noise.
Don't equate me to Sandusky.
He hears a rhythmic slapping noise, just like Sandusky.
And so then,
and he looks behind there, and one of the Cirque du Soleil has her yoga pants around her ankles.
So then you're telling me, like, dude, you can't do this, man. Like, the tour manager finds out they're gonna fire you. So then the tour manager calls me, and he's like, I heard you're banging the lady with the
Get
silk
in here,
ropes.
Sandusky.
And then I'm like, hey, that was after work. I did all my work. I lifted everything. It was just after. So what does it matter? But they frown upon that.
It's not that you're interacting. It's that when they find said dancer crying in a corner because they're upset about something with you and that's affecting their performance.
Yeah, it's a distraction.
It's when things go wrong. It's not when things go right.
Yeah. Oh, it will affect her.
He's so emotional about everything.
Yeah. In my experience, they just start, they always fall in love, and then they're like, why don't you hug me more? I'm like, oh, God, I came on tour for this? Anyway, sorry. So
I don't even know what to say to that.
So are you guys, once you pack up the stage, like say Amway, right? Mm-hmm. Which I'm sure you've done a lot there. So
is that a good one?
You put
Do we have a good one? We have a pretty good one?
Yeah, Amway's great.
Yeah.
You got 7-8 docks there, flat roll straight under the deck. It's lovely there.
So I'm gonna guess the older stadiums that you guys play are like, oh God, or older.
What's the worst stadium?
He may not want to. He may not want to air that.
Kia Forum in LA. They're kind of replacing it right now with the new stadium right across the way.
They are.
They built that in the 50s, I want to say. And there's a long tunnel, and you can back down one truck and back down one truck, and then that truck dumps. And then you have to get out, and then another one backed in. You do that 22 times in the morning, and then everything going out is. Wow. We had 22 forklifts on hire to just run. You have just constant forklifts driving in circles all day, all night.
God, and then what scares me about that as an anxiety guy that's on medication for it is that when you take sophisticated equipment that has to be used night in and night out, and you put it on forklifts, and it's something. It makes me think something bad's going to happen or could.
It does.
Yeah, and it does, right?
It does.
Do you have to almost factor in? Do you have to have a replacement equipment ready?
Yeah. No, we travel with spare everything.
And then
the redundancy of what he would need, it's giving me freaking me out.
And I know it's like it's all planned out and everything's by schedule, but once you load everything back in the trucks, those trucks are leaving in the middle of the night sometimes, right? Like immediately on to the next show.
Yep.
And then there's probably a schedule of truck drivers to make sure they get their rest or whatever. And then you guys are immediately on to the next show. And then usually the artists, like they have sometimes the option to just to fly there or whatever, or like I've seen.
I wouldn't do that.
You know,
I'd ride with my crew.
Yeah, and then Taylor Swift, and I'm sure this probably made other artists like mad because they're like, now we're gonna have to start doing this. Like she historically has been very philanthropic to her stage crew and the truck drivers. Remember when she gave every truck driver some like huge bonus?
Yeah,
or
it was wasn't it like $100,000?
Yeah,
it was something ridiculous. It was.
I can't speak for it, but the rumor was $100,000.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
does that travel around, and then all of a sudden you start looking?
What are you giving me, SZA?
You're like, and then all of a
You
sudden
get a pie from Perkins or something,
it's near the
Yeah.
holidays.
You get a free turkey from Publix. I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. I think I don't know if SZA tips that well. I
Pretty
don't know.
good.
Yeah, just based on the stereo.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty good.
So is that normal for artists to like give a big bonus to their crew at the end of the tour or like during the holidays, and does it go to everybody, or do they just pick, like Taylor Swift just gave it to the truck drivers? Like if I was Matt, I'd be like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like they only
I'm
drive.
more important than a stinky old truck driver.
Well, the truck driver was the big news story, but I believe everyone on that crew that was there for the long term was well compensated.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay.
So
That's what I've heard unofficially.
Yeah. Off the record.
And has that made other artists like pressure them into doing
should.
stuff? Although if I was
right?
if I was SZA, I'd be like, listen, Taylor Swift makes $1 billion.
Yeah, well, you
like,
do a percentage of that.
I'm grinding.
No, you do a percentage. You go to your account and you go, what percentage of Taylor Swift am I? And then he tells you, and then you tip accordingly.
Well, that happened. The second time that happened was a few weeks before the end of this last tour, and everyone was just kind of like, oh, hey, yeah, the money's floating around, huh? Oh, yeah. You see that? You see that news story over there?
Hey, anybody watching the news today?
It depends on the artist and how well the tour did and everything, but generally the bonuses are for people who are there the whole time. It's not like if you came in the last 3 weeks and subbed in for somebody, you're not getting bonus $100,000 in general. But we are taking care of the end of tours at times.
Okay,
Oh, that's awesome, man.
And I also know this from the punk rock passport show that NoFX was on back in 2010 or whatever. Maybe.
Backstage Passport.
Backstage Passport.
Yeah, that was a good show.
And it's funny because there's not and there probably is now, but I haven't seen too many documentaries about touring stage shows. And
Well,
like,
there
the
was that
behind the scenes.
roadie show for a while on like MTV, I think.
Yeah, it was. I forget
Do
what it
you
was on.
remember?
It was goofy.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
It was like a soap opera.
Yeah, I think it was
with
fake.
road cases
I think
involved.
it was
It's all-
kind of,
yeah.
I think it was kind of fake.
But I remember like they went to Singapore, and then also like in Singapore the whole thing was like if you get caught with drugs, like they're real serious.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
different laws
They'll
here. Like,
cane you.
and then even in like South America, a lot of it was paying off promoters and stuff, and then like making sure that there was even security or like how safe the venue was, because it was all about like you get to the place and you needed a local to tell you who to pay off so that
Yeah.
everything goes smoothly.
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
just a
Oh, yeah.
lot of just,
Yeah.
and so that happens as well too.
That's all real. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
the craziest place you feel like you've been to? Without saying something you shouldn't say.
No, yeah. This year was my first time going to Manila, which is a pretty wild place. As an American, you stick out very, very clearly
Yeah.
there. By the time we got out of security and through customs at the airport, I realized we were surrounded by about 20 private security guards, and people were videoing and taking pictures, and it was like we were celebrities walking into the airport, but not necessarily for the right reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
'Cause
You were targets at that
They're
point.
known to take over whole buses. So as we drive around Manila, we've got police on motorcycles circling the convoy as we drive to kind of keep people away.
Were you concerned at all a little? I think I'd have a little anxiety about like, well, man, if they take over this bus.
Yeah. I can't fight them.
Yeah, what am I gonna do? Especially if I'm a backup dancer, I'm dressing all like, bright color. I got like a headband, like a feather sticking out of my ass.
I was less adventurous than some. I stayed in the casino hotel with the guys with machine guns guarding the front door the whole time.
I'm with you.
You guys got like 3 bars and 10 restaurants in here. I'll just hang out here. I'm fine.
Yeah, this is fine. I don't need to venture out.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm with you.
What's the longest you've been on tour? And is it continual, or do you have like all of a sudden a month off in the middle for you to go back home?
It's mainly logistic breaks. So you figure you've got all this equipment. We've got, as I said, for B, we're 22 trucks. And all that has to go into sea containers. So it's called a cross-load, where you pack it into sea containers and secure it, and it goes on a boat. That boat has to get over to, call it Europe, call it wherever. So that's your break, is when all the gear is traveling from place to place. Occasionally they'll hire planes for that, but you got to have a lot of money to buy out a 747 for that. It's not cheap.
Yeah. You're shipping this stuff. That's the
because I don't think people
cheapest way.
I think people think that like these tours, it's just a plane and then it's the band with their instruments and they just put it in there and they're flying. No, it's like 7 planes.
Yeah, you don't see us at 2 a.m. You don't see us at 2 a.m. packing 28 shipping containers in the back behind the arena, just slamming gear and everything.
It's crazy, man.
And it's become more important, the stage show, in the past 10 years or more. That's where these artists are making their money. And we've all seen it with ticket prices and stuff. And, this is where the money's made. So I imagine because it's more expensive, they're more elaborate, and there's more use for guys like you, which would probably open up a whole industry of new jobs for people that because
How'd you get into it?
Yeah.
I was doing kind of audiovisual stuff around Orlando, that things. I've always had a kind of a foot in the door on this kind of thing. And then I went to a few shows and I really liked the lasers. I was like, that's cool. Those are neat. And I went and taught myself how to do lasers, and then literally emailed someone at the same company I still work for once a week for like 6 months and bugged this person.
You Steven Spielberg them.
And more or less, yeah. I was like, hey, give me a chance. They gave me a chance. They're like, oh, he's good.
Yeah, because it was a passion. You were into it.
Yeah.
That's dope.
So how do people get into this industry if they want to? Because is there a school for it? Do you have to just learn by apprentice work?
I don't think I've ever heard of that. And the only guys I know have been self-taught.
Do you start as like a low-level intern / you're just the hauling
Or
equipment and work your way up?
Guy?
The way to do it is to have a specialty.
Okay.
Mine is laser shows. I do all sorts of special effects, but my specialty is laser shows, and that's what I get called for the most. Most of the guys that you see on the road have been doing it for a while, and they are experienced lighting technician. They would know the ins and outs of every single light that's going to be on that tour, and that's what they do day in, day out. And then being that good at it puts them in a position where they can do it every day very quickly, very efficiently.
Man, we've had a lot of weird jobs. You're getting a lot of compliments from our chat room. They love you, and they think this is a really cool weird job. But you just gave one of the single best pieces of advice that can almost go further than just audio.
Universal.
Find a specialty. That's a really smart.
Get really good at it.
And get really find something that you like even.
Yeah.
It was easy for you to get good at lasers because it seems like you like lasers.
Yeah, exactly.
That's dope.
When you're on tour, do they give you per diem per day as part and all your obviously food and housing is paid for? How much money do you have to spend on tour yourself?
You don't have to spend much at all if you're good about not going out and going to the bar and doing activities in cities and things like that. You can spend almost nothing because you're fed 4 meals a day on work days. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, late night. They'll have food waiting for you on the bus. They stock the buses generally with beer, wine, that kind of thing too. So I mean, if you're smart about it, you can save a lot of that money.
So essentially, it's kind of like a contractor that would go overseas, and then they.
You guys are cruise employees,
and then it's kind of like it is similar to a cruise a little bit.
Yeah, except your English is way better.
And the pay's a little bit higher too.
Yeah, I would say a lot higher.
What higher than indentured servants, which I think is.
This free food is garbage. Bring me more.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. Although the travel you got to get used to.
Do you get to? Because I know we're going to run out of time here. But do you get to? This will be my final question. Do you get to I think you do, but do you get to go and when you're there, do you try to tour or see things or maximize the amount of what you would learn from the amount of touring that you're doing, or is that too hard because the job is just really, really hard?
You try to. When we're doing a lot of fly dates like we were doing in Asia this year, you generally get an acclimation day in every city if the tour treats you decently. Otherwise, you're really, really burning the candle at both ends. And I'll try and get out for a few hours. There's some days you just I got a nice hotel room. I'm staying here all day. I'm done. I'm out. I'm just tired of doing things.
Physical too. Yeah, that's another thing people don't think about is this is you're using everything.
And by the time you're flying to a new country every 4 days, it's customs lines, it's the flight time, it's all the things you hate about traveling. Doing that every 4 days.
Yes, yeah.
Oh man.
Now, I want to ask you exactly what you make, but on a spectrum of people that do similar things that you do, what are we talking as far as like a salary, or is it?
Sometimes we like to go like, what can you make?
Is it per tour you get paid? Like, so once the tour's over, you just wait till the next one, kind of like an acting gig, or?
Most places factor in either day rates or weekly rates.
Okay.
I'm on a day rate, so it's every day I work or every day my time is occupied. So if we're on the road and we have a day off in Alabama, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're paid for that occupied day.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. Because you're technically there.
Yeah.
You're not at home,
Yeah.
so they have to pay you for the time you're there.
Yeah.
But then you work when you're actually working, and it's like a show date. That's a little more. So it's like they factor that in.
Yeah. So for an average technician, depending on their skill level and their day rate and everything, you can start off kicking close to six figures probably, and then upwards from there.
Wow.
And there's a lot of mobility in that if you are in certain positions, people that actually mix the audio for the show or actually run the lights for the show, there's a lot of money being made in that.
Last question, chat room. A bunch of people asking this. Most people that do your job or something adjacent to it, single or married?
Oh, it's a mix. I am single by choice, for sure.
Oh, I wish I was.
It's really hard, and a lot of the guys you see them going through it on the road trying to keep up with family and wives and kids.
It's hard, yeah.
That wears on people too. So part of the reason I've stayed single is it makes that life a lot easier.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would imagine.
yeah.
I don't think I would be able to do it with my family.
No.
But it does, because I'm sort of, I like my alone time. I am a little kind of interested in this. Sounds like, right? Like,
Yeah.
if I'd taken a different path, when I hear this, and as much as I like music, and as much as I do like getting, I'm a big
technical
believer, I like the technical stuff, but I like it when people give me something and go like, just execute this.
Mm-hmm.
I love getting, I love recipes. Just give me the tasks. I'll get them all done. Don't talk to me. Don't say a word to me.
Well, Matt, thanks so much
Yeah,
for
man.
participating
You
in
were
Weird Job
great.
Wednesday. Thanks for using Barton Crystal
Yeah,
to
man.
purchase your house.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
From the demilitarized zone in South Korea.
Right,
It's
you're
just
there.
crazy.
You're taking the 360 tour. You know?
Sorry, you got your PayPal hacked. And we will see you tomorrow.